So, what's been happening, Andrew?
It's good. I went to the Bay Area Bridge, San Francisco Golden Gate Bridge, and did
Oh, nice.
a rally with the walkaway people. So that has been that's been fun. Uh, I was just hanging out with friends. I live in San Francisco. It's pretty bad right now in terms of just like statistics. Not for COVID. COVID's really low actually. It's like you have like 81 deaths, but it's like we've been on lockdown for 6 months. It's about time that we open up before more businesses go crumble. So I think I mean, I've been really getting ready to see whatever happens post-election. Maybe the countries will open up and then I can travel
Mm.
again. And I feel kind of like inspired to maybe write about or do some independent journalism on the post-COVID world, which would, eventually we are going to get out of it and seeing the um, just the impact and like the cultures and how people get by and what does it mean, because it is a really interesting event. And uh, yeah, I mean that's where I've been at too.
Yeah. So, what's the walkaway group? Is it walkaway people?
Walkaway is from it's by Brandon Straka, and it's walking away from the kind of really radical left of you
Mm-hmm.
know of America, which is basically really a lot of crazed people who a lot it's the I'm trying to avoid being too political, but there's definitely more authoritarian styles. We have the press, which is incredibly biased, full of activists, and people, and so it's also really important because when I was sharing about why I think people should leave is a large part of the mental illness crisis that we deal with is that people are just disconnected from reality. And one of the things that kind of gets in between a person and reality is the press, right? It's the
Mm-hmm.
information, it's propaganda. And I think that it's really important for people just to know what's going on. Like you there's so much alarmism going on right now, so much chaos and
Mm.
fear, and it's being instigated because like I mean, there's lots of different reasons you could say, but I think it's just something that humans do, right? Like as animals, it's just like we spread panic because, and then we get very religious about it. Um,
Mm. Mm.
it's like, oh my God, the world's ending, and like the virus is taking over the world, and so all these things I think have like really created this culture of apocalypse and insanity, and it's quite destructive, I think, to people's mental health. And I think that if anything, but people can like walk away from it. You could just say like, look, I don't think it's true. It's like the emperor has no clothes, right? There's no validity to this, insanity. Like the world, like there's still a lot of love. I mean, this is on both sides too, so that's why I try to be political. Like, you definitely have like a lot of alarmists on the left, and a lot of people on the right are like, this is going to be civil war, and we're going to have a coup, and whatever, and like one world government. It's like, yeah, I mean, they're alarmists too, also, and so but I think that there is a mental shift of freedom to say, like, look, I'm not going to let the journalists, the activists, the alarmists, the kind of civil war preppists get into my head and convince me that you know the world is hell and burning up. It's like, okay, there's definitely a lot of challenges and problems. So for me, that's my own statement, and I think that's a mentally healthy statement to say. At least I feel
Mm.
happier about things. Uh, yeah.
Mm. Yeah, it's like one thing that came to me as you were saying that is I kind of followed your trajectory loosely, and you're like in a way, like an ethnographer. You've been going into these communities because I think last time we spoke, you spoke about
Mhm.
being in the or just exploring the MGTOW and then Game B and then
Right.
like, and then you kind of like an ethnographer, just
Right.
seeing what's gone on there. And how has that been for you, that journey of
Yeah,
going
yeah. I
going deep into
say,
communities? And we were both in one taste as well, all this.
I learn it's like I can't, like, they have good and bad things about it. Like every country you go into. So, with one taste, I still say that I had a really great experience. I know a
Yeah,
lot of people don't say so.
yeah, yeah.
I understand. And I mean, it just gave me a lot of life experience. And, who knew that you could just live in a community and some woman takes off her pants and you'd be like, yeah, I'm stroking your pussy. And like, everybody's cool with it. And you're like, what? And then you talk about things like, how to be writing very difficult parts in a relationship and actually
Mm.
turning them into something exciting. It's and that actually does, I think, much. I think that people maybe feel a little bit of shame about it, but it's like, in some ways, come on, a lot of the liberals, like even just 10 years ago, were like, it's like, ha ha ha, racist jokes, and like, like pussies, and
Yeah.
it's bizarre that we've actually the radicals. So like I said, I don't like to point names because everybody has a radical. Like I have a radical inside myself. I have an authoritarian in myself. It just comes with traveling. But everybody had, like, there's this Puritan
Yep.
Puritan culture, and
Extreme,
like,
extreme views. Yeah.
yeah, you have to be pure. And it's like, no, we're all really fucked up, and that's okay. That is the governors are not perfectly people, scientists, activists, but this this need for moral purity, I think that's very problematic. I don't think it's making people happy. It doesn't make me happy. And also, I like, Game B has some really interesting and fantastic ideas. I learned a lot. MGTOW, I actually don't really. I probably have the more negative. I understand, like, the hurt of men. I never really got too much into it. I just don't think. I think it's more of a counter movement towards women, which is like, but it's in some ways it's kind of like Marxism. It's like you feel oppressed by women in some way, and therefore you should, like, be a libertarian and just like, no. I mean, I think women have their challenges, and you have to engage in them, and like, and the same with what I think is really kind of fun about American culture right now is, even though it's very hostile and political, people are choosing to engage in each other, even if it's like food fighting. Like, because it's the clash, right? It's the clash of ideas, and we shouldn't be afraid of ideas. We shouldn't be afraid of people. I mean, they can cause harm, but I mean, I had a lot of stupid ideas.
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, life changes. That's part, like, I don't know. I mean, yeah. No one
It's
knows. No one really, not really everybody knows what's going on, to be honest. Like,
yeah. And then I don't think anyone would know. It's the complexity is just too great. That's why we need each other. You know what I mean? No one brain can hold the whole complexity, and it's also dynamic. So even if let's say one person manages to hold the complexity for 1 second, then the next second it's already changed. So I don't think there's enough bandwidth.
right,
Yeah.
right. And it's like, a lot of attention is focused on, like, oh, the 220 election, and if one side wins, it's going to be a totalitarian authoritarian government. Everyone, like, look, we're living through this right now. Like, and even then, it'll change. Like, like, life will go on, ideas will be challenged. So there's that flow thing to it. I think, what the challenge with complexity is, like, it's always beyond understanding because it's so complex. And it's like,
Yeah, it's not about, well, it's about participative knowing, as we borrow again from Johnny V. It's not
yeah.
propositional. How is that?
Right.
Because you were exploring that, you were doing a deep dive on Vervaeke stuff. I'm
Yeah.
going back now with because he's done a lot now. It's just like pumping out content at the moment. It's like, whoa, it's a flood of content coming out for these people.
Right. Yeah. There's definitely. I think it's just. It reminds me. Okay, well, I never lived during the Enlightenment, but there's definitely we are going through transformational times. I'm not gonna say it's unprecedented because that's just act like journalist jargon, but but
These
like
are different. The stars are different.
right. I mean, we have different. We had the internet come alive and social media. We just don't know what these technological things, and plus, there's a lot of questions about how are we going to work with this world of robotics and AI and technology and communication. I mean, it's going to be very rocky, and there's like ideas that are just flying around about how things work, and they clash, right? And so it could be also. I mean, I think these last 6 months have been kind of tough. Like, it definitely the energy just like freaking out, but at the same time, it's also like that pressure cooker. See, this is one thing I really liked about One Taste. It's like, look, you just go through this pressure cooker and it really sucks. I mean, the alternative is like, maybe you join the military and you get dropped in Iraq and stuff like that. But this one, I mean, it's kind of like that prolonged siege, but it's the necessary crucible for waking up in particular fashions. It's forcing integration of lots of different ideas. Like how do you deal with like race issues and systematic racism while also figuring out like, hey, there are parts where like nobody gives a shit and stuff like that, and so it's difficult because it's difficult, and then also I think it forces the refinement, like to be really like when you are talking to people, how do you deal, like what is actually going on? Maybe a lot of things too are personal. Like a lot of people like we all have drives to be part of something larger than ourselves, and so these movements are inherently meaningful to people, and when they're in the clash of ideas where it feels like anybody could be delegitimized, or your claims of how the world works can just be demolished, it could be scary times. But at the same time, there's a tremendous amount of growth in like how the world could work, like, hey, you know what, maybe like 50 years from now we'll be like, well, like, remember this? And like we're on Mars right now, we're just like, I just took a vacation to Mars. Remember when we were talking about like whether corn syrup was racist or something like that? Like, it's like, what? Yeah, I totally get it, but I think I do think that we'll be forced to get along somehow.
Yeah, like
otherwise we just drive us out of the chain. Yeah, what are your thoughts?
I think I don't know, I could get this wrong, but I think even Martin Luther King Jr. talked about the dream of a day where the color of the skin doesn't matter. It's just like irrelevant, and I think people have forgotten that.
Right.
And
right. Well, I think there's a lot of ideas. Like, I think of this idea of inheritance, right? Like, people inherit things, and when we're young, we don't really know what to do with it. It's like, what the fuck? Like, all hero movies deal with this. It's like, your king father dies, mentor, and you're just kind of this little shit that doesn't know what to do. But then I'm not saying it sorts itself out, but I think that people come to really have to learn to master these ideas in order to manifest them truly in the world. And there's always resistance. I think that's part of the drama that makes life interesting, is that you have resistance, and you also have women. And it's just like, well, it's because it's like drive people insane, but that's also what makes life exciting.
Yeah, reminds me of a reading of the whole the Jewish tradition and the whole Genesis, the whole Old Testament. The original sin is actually disobedience, and
Right.
but if you look at it psychologically, a child needs to disobey the parent, because otherwise
Right.
the child won't become its own person.
Mm-hmm.
If a child just follows everything the parents say, then there's no chance for that human being to develop as an individual. So
Right. Right.
so
Totally.
so I guess how to distinguish that from what's happening now, what I'm seeing is things are boiling up because for a long time everyone was just content with bullshit.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's okay to be authentic even though it's messy and it's all chaotic. But bullshit is the one that's really bad, because with bullshit we're screwing up the signals. You know what I mean? Like I'm gonna say I'm
Right.
for the poor and the homeless, but actually I need them to stay homeless so that I'll win votes. Or I
Mm-hmm.
wanna help the people in Africa, but actually I don't want them to be successful, because otherwise I won't have a job in the job agent in the aid. You know, there's all this weird thing that we're bullshitting each other, right? Like
Totally. Totally.
people saying things they don't really mean just to. It's like the political mind. I think I tweeted before that it's the most dangerous thing is the political mind.
Right. Yeah, I think there's a lot of noise,
Mm.
you know. But it's like, well, one of the things I think about in terms of the noise is like if it's noisy, like one of the things that we can do is always we stop, and you're like, wait, what's going on?
Mm-hmm.
Actually, this is a really kind of crazy story that happened to me. Is so I got scammed yesterday because so this is kind of my love story. I was talking to this girl, love scam story, kind of crazy.
Nice.
I was
I
talking to this
like this.
girl from Japan, and
Uh-huh.
then well, we met in Japan. She's from Serbia, and basically, well, we just like she was teaching in China, and then she had to fly back, but we kept in contact for a while. She was on Facebook and WhatsApp, and then eventually, I think like because of something like some problem with Facebook, it got canceled. She wasn't able to do it, or no, like we got disconnected. But we were on WhatsApp, and then her WhatsApp phone is not working, so it's like shit, And I was trying to figure out like because the thing with Europeans is they only use their first name a lot when you have. So it's like you can't really find them. Americans are actually very easy to kind of find on the internet, which is scary. People think about. But either way, I was searching for her contact, and I was like, Facebook has kind of this really hard to understand help center, and so I got, I thought I got the email to a Facebook help thing, and it's like, yeah, we'll help you with the issues. It's gonna like these Google Play cards, and because I was a little bit like quite emotional and it's like trying to figure ways out. I totally fell for it. And then when I was on, like, I fell the first one, and then they called a technician. The technician was just like, you need to put these $200 on the Google card and stuff like that because the security code. And then luckily I had a friend who was able to just kind of like, snap me up because this guy was just like really outright like lying to you in order to scam you. And I was just like, whoa, and like, gaslighting. So one thing just to know about people is that they will actively lie. Like, I don't necessarily believe everybody's like this compassionate person that's oppressed. It's like, no, people do make moral choices to lie and bullshit. But it requires, I think, in order to detect that bullshit, you have to be able to like make the sacrifice. Like, like my sacrifice is like, okay, you know what? I'm going to give up on this thread. I may not find her anymore because if this is one of my last threads, but it's like, it's not, but that's the way the bullshitter kind of gets you. It's like it finds something that's important to you and stuff like that, and then try to gaslight you. And so eventually, they're texting me, and I was like, I just texted back, it's like, look, this is a scam. It's like, no, and they were saying like, no, it's a scam. It's like, well, if it's not, you can PayPal me a refund. It's like, no, like, we could fix your problem. We just need $100 more. And I was just saying, like, if you're that desperate, if you're going to lie, if you're that desperate to lie, you can have the money. But if you have a moral backbone, just give it back, And then they were just like, no, dude, we could fix the issue. And I was like, yeah, you guys are just liars. And I just said, it's like, you can have the money, because if you're that desperate, then, I really wish you well on that. And, I did a little bit, and so they're like, they just went away and stuff like that. And it's just like, yeah, so I just lost about $300, but, well, I gave it away technically. But then I was like, I really think about it too, is part of the way people get through, because the way bullshit and chaos works is like, people are emotionally invested in something.
Yeah.
They feel like they're going to lose it. Yeah. And then they're distracted. But also, with the bullshitters too, it's just like, you're so invested in that, in your own narrative, and the person's narrative, like for a thief, they do have consistent narratives. Like one of them is like, it wasn't my fault. Like, I didn't know there was consequences. There's no, things are good or bad, depending how they feel, or it's justified because they have more money. Like there's this internal logic that people have that is a very deceptively victimly, and it gives them the justification. Jordan Vervaeke talks about this with somebody, like a justification system. So people have to constantly justify their behaviors to themselves. And I think that if you're not careful, you justify things that really work against you in the long run. Like, so if you're stealing and you think you have to justify it yourself to it, because you can see it. Like, we are conscious animals and we can see ourselves. And so if you are doing something, the only thing that is wrong, and it's wrong, the only thing you can do is you can hide it in the shadows of your unconscious. And that narrows your vision so much, because part of the way you have a much more broad scale sight of things is that, you have to have some sort of moral integrity to kind of keep you in line. And so I think that's just how I just walked away from it too. It's the same thing. It's like, you have so much limited time in your life and you want to optimize it. And you also want to like look at your life and maybe down the run and say like, hey, I'm actually contributing positively to the people around me. I don't have to justify stealing in order to get by. But then, you go back, when a couple of 20 years down the line, like that does matter, because I think we're long-term species. And if we do things that actually manifest in fruit, they can be incredibly useful and meaningful. Whereas the people who don't, like they're always stuck in emotional chaos. And I think the most bitter people I've met has been people who just haven't been able to change, and they can't change unless you're willing to see yourself as you are. And you can't see yourself as you are unless, you really are doing the right thing on some level. So that's a big long rant of Skim. And eventually, actually, the good moral of the story, I did find out her last name. So so the hunt has continued. Yeah.
So were you able to reconnect?
Not yet. I sent an email to so I took her WhatsApp profile. I reverse image searched it on Bing, and then managed to, this is the fun thing about technology. It's just like, wow, average citizens just stalking people. Yeah, welcome to it's not like one big brother. It's like everyone's big brother. So
what's special about this connection that you just can't let it go?
Well, I've one approach to relationships that I've been just doing is consistency, right? Initially I understand that chemistry is really important, of course, sometimes people and similarities of beliefs. But I think that, something that I'm just saying as practice is consistency, even in Om too, it's just like, you have the same simple practice of like, well, I'm just going to show up and see whatever happens and share whatever happens. And then that's cool. and there's less of a imposition on relationships form. So I think those are kind of actually much more fun relationships than, because a lot of things in America are political. It's like you're either against us or not. But even if you are with us, it's like it's all about like the topics and stuff like that, and
It gets
you know.
boring after a while if it's only talk
Right.
about
I wouldn't say
politics.
I wouldn't say it's boring. I don't think I think that
I mean,
there's a lot.
to me, it will get boring for me.
Right. I think it's like, yeah. I mean, I don't know. I like the drama in some ways because it from an anthropology perspective, it just shows you a lot about human nature and how it unfolds over time. Plus, there's not much to do. Like I'm just fucking stuck here. Still fucking on lockdown. Like it's kind of exciting because there's things at stake. Like, will I be able to go to the restaurant? Just like that's at stake, or will I be able to travel? Like that's kind of at stake. But also, I think too is there's this attitude that there, like I think that a large problem that we will be facing worldwide is that the press, it's actually in some ways strange because there's the libertarian movement where it's like big totalitarian governments that control every single thing, and it's like, well, the other side of it too is there's just activists. There's just people who are like, I have this religious belief about how the world works, and my job is to convince and agitate people for no other reason but other than maybe you're miserable. Like, and so it kind of goes against that. I do like the libertarian narrative a little bit more, but like that's the thing about being in different groups is like, you get like you just get when your optimal grip changes because you realize that like an attack can come from multiple different locations. But like it's complex. Everything's complex. Yeah. How about you? How are you doing?
Good. I've been actually enjoying this time. It's given me a lot of time to, in a weird kind of way, I'm seeing more of the beauty of Sydney. I've been taking a lot of walks in nature. It's like, whoa, there's so much beauty.
Yeah.
And I've also been maximizing Zoom time. Like I've done some pretty interesting courses in over Zoom, and to learn from people I would not have otherwise learned from because before all this lockdown they were not doing online stuff, but now they are. It's pretty good.
Yeah. How are things in Sydney right now?
It's pretty good because cases have not been rising, unlike Melbourne. So you can go out, you can eat in restaurants. I just wear masks in public transport. That's what I do.
Right.
And people have adjusted, like when you come into a restaurant, you just scan the thing and check in and then check out. Less people in places. Events have started to happen, smaller events.
Right. I hear that travel's closed down in Australia. I think
in and out of the country, yeah.
But you can go in between.
Except that I don't know if it's always changing if the state borders are open. But I'm not going anywhere at the moment anyway, so I haven't really looked at that. I mean, there's enough to see in New South Wales. And there's enough people to interact with at the moment. I think we could travel again at some stage. It's just like a learning period between us and this virus.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so too. Like, in some ways, countries gotta eventually. A lot of countries rely on tourism, but also, it's that exchange of culture too. Like, I'm not like this. I necessarily don't like isolated nationalist things. I really like America, but it's like part of what makes my life rich is that you just go to different countries and you compare them. You're like, oh, that's interesting. Like, so.
Yeah. And I think it's positive in a way that I think globalization, the movement has the dark side of that has caused a lot of
Mm.
problems, and I think we're waking up to that. And
Right.
yeah, so I'm now more tending towards analog and in front of me rather than reported reality.
Right. Kind of
Because
highly agree. What's at hand?
yeah, it's richer. Because like before, I used to comment a lot on what's happening in the US, and I just go, I'm not there. How the fuck should I know what's going on?
Right.
It's like I'm just
I'm here.
reporting.
I don't know what the fuck's going on either.
Yeah,
So,
it's like
uh,
I mean, if it's really significant, I'm sure I'm gonna feel the
mm,
repercussions here. But until that happens, why should I waste time in that? You know? And I'll just annoy the people who are there because they'll think I'm just who's this weird guy commenting on our affairs.
yeah. Well, I kind of stopped commenting on affairs.
Yeah,
Period. Like I don't
yeah,
post
yeah.
things about affairs. I just say really abstract things because I feel like it. But
I'm
it's
the
like,
same. Yeah.
what is, when somebody makes a post about whatever they feel activist wise, like it's just like people are annoyed. Like they just have their stress and they're trying to offload it onto everybody else. And it's like, dude, it's like I think that. So I mean, I wrote a post that's like, you don't see the world as it is, you see the world as you are. And so if you are like freaking out about BLM and racism and civil war and child pedophilia rings, I mean, I think these things can be important issues, but nobody's really talking about them and having a debate on Facebook about it. They're all just here to attack each other, and it's like, well, that's just kind of. I don't necessarily. I just don't. I don't necessarily feel it's productive. Like if you want to
Yeah.
have conversations with people, like in person, and understand their ideas, I think you can do much more. But most of Facebook, when I think people are just offloading their stress and expecting other people to just kind of consolidate for them, and it's like, no, look, when you post something, it's not about the world, it's about you. You're freaking out about the world and you're making it like some sort of national tragedy that you're feeling. And it's like, no, I mean, like it's a Facebook pollution. It is that type of bullshit too. It's like when everyone's emotionally drama, they just post whatever. And
Yeah, I think that's fine. It's just up to us, each person to yeah, and for some reason, yeah, it relates to sovereignty. If I'm hostage to things like Facebook posts affecting my mental health or my emotions, then I'm really not sovereign because I'm dependent on those people triggering me. You know what I mean? So I lose sovereignty. So I think it's better to slow down and see, okay, I'm reading that, I'm feeling all this reaction, but I can choose how to react, or how to respond rather than react. I think.
yeah, I mean,
I mean,
yeah.
still feel it, not suppress it, but then let it
Right.
make it more somatic rather than this is the world.
Right. Like, yeah, definitely. I mean, there's a lot of energy wasted on things that people don't control. Like, look, you have 65 days till election. You just vote, and then you go on with your life, right? Like, you don't have to make every single. There's this idea. I mean, I think it is an important election, but the people, like, if they're really honest with themselves, like, yeah, are you really going to change your vote? It's like, no, most of them won't. So if there's people, I think that information is good for people who are not really considered about what they're going to change. Like they're trying to really feel it out, what's going on. But for the most part, I think people know what they believe in, and yeah, just leave everybody else alone then. Like unless they really want to know. And of course, you can share your beliefs, but there's that. In America, I always feel there's this very big overinvestment, and there's a big world. People like we should. I would rather like to open up more. Like I lean towards that, so that people can just like off gas some of that stress. have fun.
Yeah, people should talk to each other like humans, huh?
Right.
Not like as ideas, but as human beings with all the complexities.
Yeah, definitely.
Is she texting you back?
Not yet. I'm always checking. This is that guy thing. Yeah. Do you have are you so how are the other talks that you've been going on? Have you been having other talks lately or yeah.
Yeah, I've been teaching too by Zoom.
Mm-hmm.
So I've taught to courses or workshops,
Okay.
and then I've got another two lined up. But the next one will be on subtle bodies in this disability festival.
Mm-hmm.
And then on November I'll be leading a dance a dance workshop where so that's happening. Yeah, and soon I'll be finishing with Nora Bateson's Warm Data course. So it's really I'm still digesting. It's really rich that course. So it's gonna change the way.
What's the takeaway you got? You're digesting like, you know, your frames or your experiences.
It's I think she's found a way to because the question is what do you mean change the world or change the system when I'm in the system and I am the system? Like where do I end and where do I begin? Like because in a way I'm a whole system, you're a whole system, and everyone's
Right.
a whole system in ourselves, like trillions of so there's that complexity. And she's found a way to have people talk from that complexity instead of the scripts that the narratives, the scripts that we have, the roles that we have. And I think that's beautiful. Also makes me want to learn or read more. Started reading more of Gregory Bateson's work. So yeah, it's a rich lineage that she's holding. Like I didn't know that the people who did the movie The Matrix, they were Bateson fans. I guess Bateson talks about the transparent matrix that we can only see when there are cracks in it. Like, it's an it's an interesting family. It's a very personal course. She's showing how to be really personal about stuff rather than just third person.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It reminds me in a lot of ways. Well, I think The Matrix is a really good, interesting example too when you think about it, right? Because in some ways, it has that system problem. Like there's two systems, you know, like it's like, is this system the real one? Like where, you know, like how do you know if you're in the Matrix or not is the question in the sense, like, how do you get like, when does a person realize like this system is, you know, I am in the Matrix yet I'm not in the Matrix kind of thing. Huh.
I mean, we are in a matrix.
We are in the Matrix.
It may not be run by robots and us being batteries, but in a way, we are in a matrix that we only see things, we see affordances, right? As mammals. Like bats don't see the same way we do. The whales don't see the world the same way we do. But it's the same world. So each creature has its Umwelt, that its own cage of knowing the complexity.
Yeah, cage of understanding.
Yeah.
Where
are you? You look like in a video game apocalypse. Like a deserted office building.
I am. I'm in the Twitter building. Yeah. This would be actually a really cool place to do like an airsoft thing. Yeah, well, so Twitter abandoned the whole building.
Everyone's working from home. Huh?
Yeah. But you know, it's nice for me. Like I just sit.
It's good space, yeah.
I mean I don't have to do any I mean I have to do some stupid things, but there's barely any work. I just sit on a computer and
Learn.
watch YouTube.
It's perfect.
Yeah, I play.
Yeah.
Sometimes I'll play. I'll watch YouTube a lot and
Podcasts.
stuff like that.
There's so much out there. It's amazing.
Right, and I get paid, so I have money to do my projects. And
how's your book? You're writing a book, weren't you? Or you're more in and also investing during the pandemic, so that after the pandemic's over, you'll get rewards or something. You were talking about that before, I remember.
Oh, well, yeah. Things happen, and then things change. Everything's changed.
Yeah, that's fine.
I'll just say I mean, a lot of things change. A lot of things I thought would change. I wasn't expecting it to be this kind of 6-month rockabout.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I actually had to do a lot of I did some MDMA and psilocybin. I said that, and I've been experimenting combining that with TRE, which is traumatic release exercises and somatic things. Okay. Because that's a I was talking to someone. That's a field that we haven't really. The psychedelics still very new to, which is combining the somatic movements like the body work and things like that. So rather than thinking about just ideas, but it's like actually how do you re-guide that experience into the body and use that to rewire, because a large part of the brain does basically just feed into the body and give it commands movement. So there's sometimes a hyper focus in psychedelics to think about the metaphysical abstract and less about like the actual sensation and physical experiences that you can have, like even just closing your eyes and just like feeling what's going on. And that was really helpful in my MDMA experience, where you just felt so good, and you just had to kind of sink into it and feel all that all positive optimism about the world. And a lot of things that I see is that people hold a lot of negativity in themselves and in their bodies, and you can't act, and it's like it. So another thing I learned in one taste is that people have this aversion to positivity. Is like you can give something the people who are like everything's going great, you're having sex, you're having all these friends, new things, and you're just like miserable.
What's wrong? Everything's so good. What's wrong?
Right. It's like you have to find a way to like make something fucked up or start a fight. and so people don't realize that also a lot of things, like when things are going good for other people, there's like this envy that wants to tear them down. But it's also like, in certain places, like you have so much good and you just have to like make other people miserable. Like it's just strange. It's strange. And so I think that part of it is rewiring physically how our bodies perceive the world, like to perceive the world as like there isn't affordances. I think self-confidence in an article that I read is basically how the self feels about the possibility of affordances that's in the world, right? So there's a perception that changes when you're not self-confident. You feel that your affordances are diminishing and you only have one possible action. And that's a pretty bad way to go about it, because people just kind of fall within themselves. And it's and I think that's it. The mushrooms too were more about just, like I said, so the logic that I've been learning is that we perceive stress in the world, right? And our body needs to, like a car engine, it needs to off gas that. And if you don't let your body, it makes like your body, like when it perceives like maybe 30 units of stress, it goes to the brain, requests 30 units of stress hormones to deal with it. But if you don't actually discharge all that stress, it just stays there, like old food or rotten food. And this is why people feel like they're traumatized and things like that. It's like, yeah, you got to move, you got to shake it out. Like you have to off gas all that stress.
Mm.
because then you just take it out on other people and make them miserable. And it's just like,
Mm.
and it's like, no. You start by like working out and discharging your own feelings, and then your system kind of recalibrates to readiness, and you have a more accurate view of the world. It's like, it's usually when we're agitated that our cognition starts to slow down a lot, and that's why, you know, people just have all this gas of stress. They get very tight about their beliefs in the world. It's like, and you know, sometimes you just have to give mushrooms to people and blow that emotional system, give it some diarrhea and get that stuff moving through, get it moving through, you know.
Yeah, that's why. Yeah, I haven't finished it, but it's almost. I'm listening to Brian Van Velcock's "The Body Keeps the Score." It's an amazing book.
Yeah.
Because it's so. He looked at everything, including psychedelics, yoga, EMDR,
Right.
talking. It's like it's a really holistic approach to trauma. It's like, wow, amazing.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, one of the things I've learned at the walk away is like, people just have so much rage, you know, like it's just recycled over and over again. And you know, part of it's metaphysical, like they're like, they see the world, like people can see the world as just like this hostile, terrible place. But also there's parts of it that's just like, you know, if you feel threatened, you hold on to it, and it's just like, but with all things that come and go, it's like emotions just have to flow through. So if you feel angry about something, then you actually feel your anger through. The people who don't, the people who don't feel their anger all the way through, they just, you know, they direct it at other people for that reason. So I mean, I think, you know, I do like The Body Keeps the Score, because somatically you can understand things, and also studying philosophy really helps because you understand, you know, logically, how do people kind of construct how to live in the world, because there's the creative aspect of like, of all the possible affordances that I can choose from, I choose punch your neighbor and flip them off. You're right. It's like where did that come from, right? It's like, how do you justify that? But
yeah. Certainly is. Yeah, I still feel I'm living in the best time possible because there's a lot of possibilities brewing, and the worst thing I could do is try to nail it down when things are still fluid.
Right.
That's the beauty of the time we live in. We're in between worlds, as Eisenstein. Is it Eisenstein? No. Whatever. There's someone who wrote that we're in the time in between worlds.
Yeah, I definitely feel that.
Charles Eisenstein.
Yeah. No, I feel that. Like, I feel like it's that awakening thing. You know, it's like it feels like things like if you look at the material world, like people are kind of like, yeah, we're gonna enter a depression and blah blah blah, but and material things aren't moving. But if you're thinking about it in terms of maybe like the awakening experience, like at some point it just kind of bursts through. Like life just finds a way to burst through, and you know, I'm kind of quite optimistic. It's been feeling pretty good.
That's good. Yeah.
I have about 8 more minutes, and then I gotta get ready for work. So.
Yeah. I feel full actually. So.
Okay. Well, let's.
Any last finishing thought you want?
You know, yeah, don't take life too seriously. Yeah.
Yeah. I take it like that's why I run a lot of experiments every time. That's the only way to find out. For me, of course. All right, man.
All right.
Thanks for that. I'll upload this, send you the links, and have a good time at work, man.
All right. Take care.
See ya.